Hello me chums, how are you doing? Hope everybody's well. Hope you've had a nice week, and I also hope you're looking forward to getting out and doing some fishing this weekend. Bit of a windy one, quite blustery. I'm going to try and get out myself this weekend and do a bit of sea fishing, but it's all dependent on the weather really. So what I'm doing today, my fly tying, what's a chine? I don't know what that is. Anyway, my fly tying chums, a bit of a tongue twister. My fly tying chums will appreciate this one. I'm going to tie a small top hat emerger, which is very good this time of year, and to be honest, it does fish all through. If there's fish on the top, they will have a go at this. Now, if you're a sea fisherman, you might have thought about fly fishing, or you might be interested in fly fishing or fly tying. Whichever way, it might be of interest. But these are the type of things that we do use when we're fly fishing to target fish when they're in a certain feeding phase, i.e. on the top or just under the surface. So anyway, what we're doing is, I've got a size 12 black nickel hook here. See that? I've got the size 12, quite a heavy gauge. There's a reason for that. What I do is, because I use foam for the top, as it's called a top hat, I use a foam for the floating aid on the hook. You can get away with a heavier gauge hook, which means you lose less fish. Because when you're using the light, I've found personally, when you're using the light hooks, excuse me, I've got sniffles today, something rotten. Anyway, when I'm using light hooks, sometimes you can pull out with the fish, you can strike too hard, which you shouldn't do anyway, it's bad practice, but you could strike too hard, the fish could just give you a right run around and the hook can open out. But I find with these heavier gauge ones, that doesn't happen. You eliminate that completely, which is an absolute bonus. So what we're going to do to help that is I've cut some tube. Now you don't have to cut this yourself, you can buy them. You can buy the foam tubes like this, but it is more cost efficient to buy the foam block and cut the tube yourself with little cutters. You can get the cutters from upon Avon, and I think you can get them on eBay somewhere, but I'm not quite sure about that. So what I've done is, this one is actually a 7mm one that I've cut. Now I normally use 7mm on a size 12 hook, just because obviously the hook's slightly heavier and I want more buoyancy. So what I'm going to do with this one, the entire thing's about an inch long. So what I'm going to do, I like to cut this in half. So we're going to cut it in half, so we've got 2 half-inch tubes. And when I have the tube like this, like so, I'm going to chamfer one edge. So basically I'm going to take the scissors and I'm just going to cut a little chamfer in it like so. So you get that. You see that? Yeah. What we're going to do, I'm going to take my thread, which in this case I'm using Textreme. And this is a 6/0, which is quite a heavy thread. But this is the equivalent of, if you use UTC threads, it is actually the equivalent of the 8/0, I believe. Am I right? I think I'm right. Yeah. Anyway, just a fairly tough one. Fairly tough thread, because I do like to bite down on that foam. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to put a little base layer near the head of the hook. And we're just going to take away that excess. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the tube. Notice the chamfer here. I'm going to put that just on the hook there. Can you see that? That's where I'm going to tie in. I want this high point to be just behind the eye of the hook. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold that in place there. I'm going to go around gently first, not tight, just, I'm not putting any pressure on that at all. And then I'm going to gently increase how tight I pull down on the thread without snapping it. And then we're going to take the scissors and I'm just going to chamfer this again, taking off the excess like so. And then I'm going to gently go and cover that foam, but not binding down again. But on the way back up, I'm going to bind down. Get that nice and compact. We're going to leave a bit at the front here. See this? We'll leave that for now. I want a little gap at the front. So before I go down the hook to get the length of the fly, I'm going to take some red holographic tinsel. This is like, I think it's really slim. I think it's like 1.2mm or something, which I like on these smaller patterns. Excuse me. So what we're going to do, I just noticed a little bit of discoloration. Oh, that's okay. So what we're going to do this one, we're going to offer up to the hook, just on one side. And we're slowly going to tie that in. I'm going to go down, avoiding the barb, obviously. I'm going to go down to just before the hook bends. You can go around there if you want as well. So what we've ended up with, I'll just put this in the lock. So what we end up with there, we've got the thread base and we've got our rib at the back. This is fixed in nicely. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, you can use any black dubbing. Okay, this is black hare's-ear, but it's got the tiniest little bit of UV in which you will not pick up on there. Now, if you're interested in getting this particular one, I'm not endorsed by them in any way, but I do use a lot of their stuff. And this one is from Fish On. It's the black MBC caddis dub. See that? Really good stuff. It's really soft and it's so easy to, I mean, you'll probably see the glint in it there when I hold that up. Can you see that? It's just so soft. It's very airy. It's really, really nice. So what I'm going to do, when you're dubbing this on, you just want to pick tiny bits, just getting it stuck to your finger really, and dub, because we don't want it a really big fat nymph or merger. We want something very slim. So I'm just going to dub that on gently, just picking it off like so. And I'm going to fill around about 1.5 inches of the thread with that. Totally up to you, but it's always easier to put on less, little at a time, little and often, than going really heavy with it. Then you've got to wind it back off because you're not happy with the shape. Shape and silhouette is absolute paramount in fly tying. I can tell you that for nothing. Right, so I'm going to go around here. We're going to go clockwise, start building this body, and we're going to go to a point where the thorax of the natural would be. So I'm going to say there, I'll only go 2/3 up and leave 1/3 left over. With the rib, I'm going to go anti-clockwise. I'm going to put one wrap around the base. Now I'm putting pressure on, but not too much. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit of pressure because I want to keep that rib in place. I'm going to go around 3 times, like so, just to fix that in and get comfortable. Pull that in front, get comfortable, and just give it another couple of turns just to really secure that. Okay, then we're going to take that off like so, and that's the body so far. You can see the profile's not massive, it's quite thin. Now they don't have to be neat, because nothing in nature is really that neat, especially when that emerging, because the pupae splits open and the new insect's trying to emerge. It's a bit of a mess. So what I'm going to do next, now with the head of the fly, you can change colour if you like. You could put red dubbing on here if you wanted it to be really sort of stand out. You could put orange on, anything you like, but this is a very stealthy type pattern, which I quite like. So what I'm going to do, take the same dubbing again, quite lightly, and probably about the same as we've put on the body. So there, and then we're just going to build that thorax, trying to keep a taper. I'm going to get right in behind this foam like so. Now I'm going to lift the foam back. Remember, we left that gap at the front. 1, 2, 3, 4 underneath. Now you've got an option. You can, I don't, but you can put a little bit more dubbing here if you want and fill underneath here, so that gap's full of dubbing as well, so it looks an extension of the fly. I don't find that beneficial in the slightest. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put 3, 4 hitches in, tie off, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 again and tie off. You can put varnish on here if you want. I don't find there's any need. Two hitches like that tied down, the fly's going to be dead before that's going to come away. So this is the bit you've got to be a bit careful with. So I'm going to take a Velcro strip. In this case, I've just made one with a lollipop stick. Stuck some Velcro on just for picking out. What we're going to do, I'm going to take this little thin end, because it's quite a small fly, and I'm just going to agitate the fly a little bit. I'll go right round. Just agitate that just a little bit. Now you've got to be careful, because if you go too hard on with a rib like this, you're going to move the rib. Doesn't really matter, doesn't stop the fish taking it, but aesthetically, to look at, you'll probably think you've ruined the fly. Right, so fluff that up just enough, that's all I need, just to give it a slightly messy appearance. I don't know if you can see that okay. So the fly's now got a slightly messy appearance, looks a bit scruffy. The final thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this post down. I like the post to be about, what, 7, 8 mil, possibly. Take the post down to there. Use that in. And there you have little emerger. Cracking pattern. Caught many fish with this, many. Now, the benefit of having black as a top post is black is very visible. The black is very visible on the surface of the water. People tend to go white. You can go white. You will see it in certain conditions, but black stands out way better, believe me. And if you've got any experience with fly fishing or tying, presenting flies, the black really does stand out, so I do prefer that. Fish tend not to see this bit. It's mainly the fly underneath, but it doesn't really matter because some fish will just actually go for the foam post. That's how they can be sometimes. So anyway, great pattern. Use this all year round. Always a good fish catcher. All you have to do is fish it on. I personally fish it on a tapered leader. I fish a tapered leader, about 6 foot tapered leader, and then I go down to, say, a 5 pound tippet of fluorocarbon. Probably about, I normally keep that quite small, probably about 4 or 5 feet. Some people would disagree. Some people do like a very long leader when they're dry fly fishing and emergers, but not me. I keep it short. I get a nice turnover. I can be accurate and hit rising the fish. There's been points where I've watched the fish rise, first cast, accurate right in front of the fish's nose, and it'll take it. And it probably wouldn't matter what colour or what that fly was. The fish will take it because it's in feeding mode. So if you are a tyer, get some of these tied up, get them in your box. Very good to have. If you aren't a tyer, but you are a fly fisherman and you would like flies, you can get me on Northeast Trout Flies on Facebook. Drop me a message. I can knock you some up, no problem. But yeah, get them tied up. But thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I hope you catch plenty of fish, tight lines, and take very good care of yourselves.